Hi, everyone. Welcome back or welcome to the Aural Theory series. My name is Dr. Julia Alford. In today's video, we are going to finish our three-part series on modulation and harmonic dictation to closely related keys. And today we're going to add in some chromatic chords. So we're still going to go to a closely related key. We're just going to add in a little bit of extra spice to it to make it a little bit more interesting and more challenging, of course. So let's get into it. First of all, we are starting in F minor, and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 chords. And our pivot chord is going to be on chord 7. So if you're not following me, you're not tracking, you should go back and watch the previous videos. Pivot chord is a chord that's shared between both keys. So let's start out by looking and seeing where we can go. So if we start in F minor, that is our tonic key. It has it has 4 flats. The 4 chord is B flat, so it's B flat minor, and that's going to have 5 flats. So C minor would have 3 flats. So this has 4, this would have 5, and this would have 3. Then the the relative majors of those keys would be A flat, that is our relative major. B flat would be D flat, and that is our 6. And then C would be E flat, and that is our 7. Again, a bit more rare, but possible. So all of these keys are connected because they share either the same key signature or similar one. Okay, very good. So let's start out with 2 listings for chord quality, figure out the quality of the last chord so we can figure out where we're going. And then also listen and see if you can catch the chord quality of that pivot chord, number 7, and mark any dominant or crunchy sounding chords. So quality of the last chord, quality of the pivot chord, mark any dominance again, or anything that sounds dominant. We have chromatic chords, so there's probably going to be an applied, there might be German, there could be a Neapolitan, all that good stuff can be in here. If we go to major key, it could then use mode mixture. Let's see where we're going with this. All right, so let's give it a go. Okay, another listening. I'm not going to give you any answers yet. Quality of the last chord, quality of the pivot chord. If you've got those, make sure you've got all of the dominant 7 chords. If you've got that, check and see if you can grab is there tonic expansion at the beginning or something else. Do we have a cadential 6/4 anywhere? That can be helpful too. All the good stuff for function. One more time, but I do encourage you to actually back up and grab a couple more listenings. Okay, if you need it, more listenings, let's take a look at this. So the last chord is minor. All right, so we can get rid of these 3 keys. That means that we're either going to B flat minor or C minor. Again, we're not going to go to C major because that would be way too different. Just complete change of tone, 4 flats away. So it has to be B flat or C minor. B flat, we would be adding a flat. So it would be B, E, A, D, G flat. C minor, we're losing a flat. So it'd just be B flat, E flat, A flat, and then D, natural. So some things to look out for. The other thing is, what are the leading tones in this key? So for B flat, you would have, let me just actually get a little bit more room here. You would need A natural. For C minor, you would need B natural. Okay, so those are actually two notes that would change for each key, depending on the chord, but most likely. Okay, great. So now, what about our pivot chord? What was the quality of that chord? It was major. And I heard a dominant sound. I'm going to put a little triangle. Dominant there. Here. And then, interestingly enough, here, which makes sense that you would have a dominant sound right after your pivot chord. But then what's also interesting is there's a cadential 6/4 here. If you didn't catch that. Okay. So all the clues I'm going to give you. Let's go on and do the bass. So 2 listings for the bass. Actually, let's do 3. It's pretty long. If you need to, get up through the pivot chord and then check your work, then start with the pivot chord and then check your work on the last listening. So let's see if we can get it in 3. You might want to add in just here, even though you don't necessarily know where you're going, you've got sol, sol, do. What else can we think through? That's going to be a 1 chord. Okay, I'm just going to, I brought the bass up. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit more. Second listening. Okay. Chromatic motion on these 3 chords, which tells you this is probably an applied chord, right? That this is going to here. Here, we have a dominant sound that descends to a cadential 6/4. What did we just learn about? I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. Also, we get back to do there. This is a cadence. So this is your 5, maybe 7, 1. And then it goes up from there. So now what do you do if you don't know where you're going? You keep writing down the bass. You know, you don't necessarily need to know the modulation. It can help. Okay, one more listening. And then I'm not going to give you the answer because I'm going to take a look at the soprano at the same time, because with these, it is kind of a dance back and forth. Okay, so you may want to actually like do and listening for the bass, and maybe your teacher will do this with you. If you're doing it online through something like Aurelia and you can control the volume of each voice, you might want to do a listening for the bass and then boost the soprano and then the bass and soprano, kind of go back and forth, listen to the chords, do a whole like back and forth coordinated ballet with all of this. Okay, one more time for the bass. Okay. Soprano starts on do. Let's give it a shot. We'll do 3 listenings for the soprano also. So again, get up through that pivot chord. Keep going if you can. It's actually really simple. It's a really simple soprano line. Honestly, this should not be very difficult, and it will help you confirm where you're going. Okay, soprano. Okay, I'm going to boost that up just a smidge more. And let's try one more time. Actually, we'll just do 2 listenings. It's so simple. So one more time, and then we'll talk about it. Got it? Okay. Let's actually look at the soprano first. Do, and then it goes down, but it's not going to the leading tone, right? It's going down to te. Do, te. Again, movable do solfege, do, te, lay, sol. And then just hangs out on the C for a long time, right? It gets to the pivot chord, and then it keeps going. And what does this sound like here? It sounds like do, ti, do, doesn't it? So what does that tell you? I'm going to C minor. Okay, so to review, C minor would have D naturals and B naturals for the leading tone. So if we are going to C minor, let's check that out and see if it works. So the bass, it skips up. I'm not going to give away the quality of that chord, but it's important. It skips up and then it goes chromatically. So me, mi, fa, sol, do, and then it skips up again. Okay, so it does the same thing, and it actually should really pretty much sound the same there on that pivot chord as it did at the beginning. But then it stays, and it goes down, and then it leaps up, and then it goes down to C. So it checks out. So both voices check out. And again, I'm not going to tell you, but this is something that should be very familiar from something we did a couple weeks ago or a couple lessons ago, depending on when you're watching this. So if you haven't watched the whole series, you might want to do that. Okay, so let's see. So after the modulation, are there any Ds or other B naturals? There's not. So there's no other accidentals we need to worry about. So let's talk about this pivot chord here. So if the quality of this is major, right? So if it's major, it's probably a 3. It's not going to be a 1/6. Yes. Okay, so a 3, and then it stays on the same pitch. Well, and then we modulate to C minor. So what would that chord be in the key of C minor? It would be a 6, major 6. It always has to be the same. Sometimes I'll see students turn in a paper with like the pivot chord, like one quality and inversion in one key, and then a different quality and a different inversion in the other key. That's not how it works. So if it's a root position in one key, it's going to be a root position in the other. If it's major in one key, it's going to be major in the other, because you're just looking at the pitches itself. It's just the Roman numeral is just describing the function that it has in the key. Okay, so we've got a 5 staying, a 6 on lay. So this may becomes lay, right? And this fa becomes do. Okay. Now what you're going to do, you're going to go through, you're going to pause the video, you're going to think about each chord and what quality it is. You're going to think about the possibilities that you have with each solfege syllable in the bass. And you're going to get yourself from the beginning to the end. You've got cadential 6/4 chord. There's things that you want to be checking. Check out all of that. Take as much time as you need to really flesh that out, and then come back, hit play, and we're going to go on and do 2 listenings for chord quality, function, all that good stuff. Okay. And we are back. Okay. 2 listenings. Pause if you need to. Decide what you want to hone in on for this last listening. Like if this was a test and this was your last listening, you had no more listenings and you couldn't back up the video, what would you want to focus on? There's some stuff you might be, I don't know, just don't do it. Double check your work, get what you can get, make your best guess, and then we'll check the answer. Okay. That's what I would do if I was taking a test. Strategize. Okay, good. So start on a minor 1, go to a major chord. That again, as I said, is a 3 because it sounds like the pivot chord. And then we've got this chromatic motion up to a 4 chord. Can't be a 2/6 because that would be diminished. You can't tonicize a diminished chord. So it has to be a 5, 6, 5 of 4. Okay. To a, it is a 5, 7, to a 1, to the 3, which becomes a 6. And then, did you get this? German augmented 6. The German augmented 6 is fantastic at reinforcing a modulation. You could hear it there, right? It's like, you're, oh, okay, yes, this is the key that I'm in. It's like, it's so smooth. Going from that 6 into the German 6 to the cadential 6/4, and all of a sudden you're in C and you don't even know how you got there. It's great. It's like, sometimes modulations are clunky. This was not clunky. I didn't think so. Anyways, okay, and then you need to decide, do you have a 8/6/4 or 7/5/3? You have an 8/6/4, or sorry, 8/6/4 or just 6/4, and it is a 8/6/4 to 7/5/3 to a 1. Okay, let's take a look at the voice leading. All right, here you go. So pretty self-explanatory, I think. So you can pause here, check this out, take a look. And that's really it. Okay. I look forward to see you guys in the next video. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. Maybe I'll do some practice with this stuff, but if there's something that you really want to see, please do let me know below. If there's other lessons that you'd like me to do, I'll happily focus on that. Before I go, click that subscribe button. I always forget, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and again, leave me a comment. Okay.